Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living here in beautiful San Clemente. We're so glad you're here with us this beautiful Sunday morning. And it's time to sing. So we're going to start with a song by Karen Drucker called What Is Mine to Give? This morning, we have our regular fabulous wonderful band. We have on guitar here Ed Cusby, and on bass Bill Dixon, on drums David Page. I'm Dan King Van here on the keys. Our song leaders are the wonderful Karen Allen and Ray Dale, and our soloist this morning is the fabulous Chris Shelton. So glad to have her with us this morning. Now it's your turn to stand on up and join us in another sing-along song here called We Are the World. 2, 3. Do that again. 1, 2, 3. Here we are. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones to make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make better days, just you and me. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones to make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make better days, just you and me. And we're going to time to meet and greet now your neighbor. Here we go.
Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living and to our service this morning. My name is Karen Allen. I am a staff minister here, and I am so pleased that each one of you have decided to be with us this morning. And we're going to start our service with our flames of faith. So we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths All sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. We light the candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of compliance with the will of God as the highest calling. We light the candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. As Hans Smith lights the last candle, let it represent the path that brought you here this morning. Please join me in prayer. Let's know together that there is only that one light, that one love, that one presence, that one power. It is right here in this room, in this moment, and everywhere that we are. It is all-knowing, all-powerful, and ever-present. We are each one of us is its expression. We are its voice. We are its eyes. We are its hands. We are it, uniquely and joyfully expressing. And so what I know is that this service today is a divine idea in the mind of God, and therefore is right now unfolding perfectly, joyfully. And that each one here receives a gift in mind, a gift in spirit, a gift in consciousness. By means of the music, the message, the fellowship, each one is uplifted, is inspired, and leaves here with a higher level of consciousness than when each one came. And I'm so grateful for each one here, for the love we share, for the inspiration we receive. And I simply let go. I know it is done. Join me in saying, so it is. And now I'd like to invite Ms. Darylyn Finley up to the platform for our affirmation.
Morning. I'll read the affirmation and then read it together. We see our communities as being meaningfully involved, service to the world. So it is. Together. We see our communities as being meaningfully involved with service to the world. And so it is.
Thank you, Darylyn. And now please welcome Chris Shelton.
day unfolds, challenge what the future holds. Try to keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears. Go ahead, release your fears. Stand up and be counted. Don't be ashamed to cry. You gotta be bad. You gotta be bold. You gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard. You gotta be tough. You gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool. You gotta be calm. You gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Herald what your mother said. Read the books your father read. Try to cut your puzzles in your own sweet time. Some may have more cash than you. Others take a different view. My, oh my, yeah, yeah. You gotta be bad. You gotta be bold. You gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard. You gotta be tough. You gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Time asks no questions, it goes on without you, leaving you behind if you can't stand the pain. The world keeps on spinning, can't stop it if you try to. The best part is danger staring you in the face. As your day unfolds, challenge what your future holds. Try to keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears. Go ahead, release your fears. My, oh my, hey, hey. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Got to be bad, got to be bold, got to be wise, never sad. Got to be hard, but not too hard. All I know, love will save the day. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Oh,
Chris
thank you.
Shelton.
Thank you.
Now, please welcome Reverend Heather Dawn Clark.
Thank you, Chris. That was exquisite. Love will save the day, is saving the day, and is here right now. So I'm going to begin with a story. It is all about, today it's all about our community and our community being in service. But the story I'm starting with isn't about our community, but you can take it out there. The story was in one of Robert Fulghum's books, and it's a story that he told about his instructor. And his instructor was giving a course, and at the end of the course, he asked the class, "Are there any other questions?" And Fulghum, being kind of a clown, said, "Sure, what's the meaning of life?" And he said, "I can tell you the meaning of life." Everyone thought he was going to just, it was going to be ha, ha, ha. And anyway, he told this story. He first of all took out his wallet and took out a tiny mirror that was in a form of a circle. And then he told this story. He said during Second World War, the island of Crete was occupied by the Germans, and the islanders were in complete resistance. And so they attacked. They got their scythes and their knives and their kitchen equipment, and they attacked the soldiers, the German soldiers. And so the next day, every villager was lined up and shot. And so This story is told by a Greek whose name is Alexander Papadouros. And Alexander said when he was a child, he found at the site of a motorcycle crash, a German motorcycle, broken mirrors. And he took the largest piece that he could find. He was going to put them all together, but he didn't do that. Instead, he took this piece and he smoothed off the edges until it was in the shape of a circle. And as a child, he realized he could play with this mirror, and he realized that he could use it to reflect into dark places. He said, so now it is a symbol. Now it is a symbol for me to remind myself that I am somehow a fragment of a much larger mirror whose purpose it is to shed light in dark places, whether it is in human hearts or in situations that need to be seen clearly. Beautiful story? Yeah, beautiful story. Alexander went on to form a peace monument there on the island of Crete, reminding people that there's choice. There's always choice. You can be the solution, to be the one that reflects that light, or you can be the one that takes vengeance and shoots or resists, because the resistance caused the shooting. So, yes, it's the anniversary of 9/11, and some of our young people don't even know, don't remember. But looking around, I think most of us do. And it's a day that it's a day that we can make a decision to be that reflector of light and to choose to be the change that we want to see in the world. It's a day that we can say, everything changed that day. And it's very true. Everything did change. The way we travel has changed. The way we look at other people has changed. And if you think back to the very first days, how I found out, I was phoned by our then music director, Judy Powell, who said, Heather, you need to turn on your television. And then I watched, as you all watched, the second plane come in and the next tower going down. And then, of course, we saw those images over and over and over again. So it was seared into our consciousness. Meanwhile, this is also Grandparents' Day. So how many grandparents do we have? Hands up. Ooh, happy Grandparents' Day to all of you. Do you know that you make such a difference? You make the difference because how you are with those children, your children's children, is a model. You're a love, you're a support, you're additional family, you're that deep rootedness. And how great this is to Grandparents' Day. I remember 9/11, and I got to work later that day, and Diane said, I'm so mad at them because my granddaughter was born yesterday, and she's never going to have a birthday that we're not talking about this attack. Well, it's somewhat true. But as a coincidentally, the very first thing I read last night, because I thought, I wonder what's going on. Usually Al-Qaeda raises its ugly head when it's 9/11, and sure enough, there was a video sent. But more than that, I saw an editorial written by a person, a man, who said he had the piece he had written for that day was a piece about you shouldn't let insane people fly planes. It was because he had flown a plane. It was a humorous piece. He said he never felt so silly or stupid in his whole life to have this horrendous event happen. And he had unknowingly written this piece that was published about insane people, meaning himself, not being able to fly planes. So anyway, then later on, after 9/11 happened, and he had just had a grandchild also, before any of the war or peacekeeping started, he wrote another article about his grandchild. And he said, I hope all grandchildren, no matter what part of the world they live in, are safe. Thinking he had written something very inspirational, something motivational, and no one complained about the other humorous one. This, he got an avalanche of mail. We should bomb everyone. If they can commit suicide, then we can go and murder their children and their grandchildren. I mean, very vicious, vicious, vicious responses. But I call you to remember how you were before any of that retaliation had happened. We came together as communities. We came together as communities. We helped each other. I know that I had meditation every single day, meditation on peace, meditation on every single day at noon for months. But this is, I promised, Darylyn said she's a Canadian. She probably won't talk about 9/11, but I've got a Canadian story to share, and it's a really good one. You know, I don't know who, and don't tell me. Every geographic area has another area they make fun of. And don't tell me what it is here, because I don't want to go into that, but I want you to know that for most Canadians, it's Newfoundland that we make fun of. Because Newfoundland doesn't even have its own time zone. It has a 30-minute difference between the other time zones. So it's Eastern, and then 30 minutes later is Newfoundland. So they're just kind of peculiar. And honestly, they were the butt of many, many, many jokes. And so I want you to know something wonderful about Newfoundland. So this story came from Delta Flight 15. And what happened was, of course, the cockpit got the news first, and they said no planes can land in the United States. All airports have been closed. No planes can leave, no planes can come in. So you have to find the nearest airport and land in it. And they were on their way to Atlanta. So the nearest one not in the United States was Gander, Newfoundland. Gander is a very small town, 10,000 people. 10,000 people. And when they landed, what do you know they saw? There were 52 planes there on the tarmac, 52. So they weren't the only ones. And they had told their passengers that there was a difficulty with instrumentation, and so they were landing. And they said, "Okay, we have to tell you the truth, because you're not going to believe that all of these planes all had difficulty with their instrumentation." So they told them, but they couldn't get off the plane for hours because they had to do it in an orderly way. I think they were on the plane something like 20 hours after they landed. And then the crew of all of these, there were 37 American planes that could not take off. They were grounded there, 37 of them. The crew all found places in hotels. But the 10,000 passengers, there were as many passengers as there were people in the village. They found places for them in people's homes, in community centers, in high schools, in junior high schools. All of the schools were closed for 3 or 4 days while this was all happening. And not only that, and they set up bunk beds and ways for them to live together in peace. They fed them 3 meals a day. They got toothbrushes for them because, of course, they had not been able to take their baggage with them that was still on the aircrafts. And they took them on excursions, showed them different parts of the neighboring places. Anyway, showed them real American hospitality, these Canadians, these Newfies, these wonderful, generous, hospitable people. And something great happened. So this was told, the whole story was told in email by one of the flight attendants, and it was checked out by Snopes. It was correct. And she said, we didn't know what condition they'd be in when they got back on the aircraft. But what happened, she said, they had formed bonds with each other. It was like there was a big party. They all knew each other. They were calling each other by first names. They were exchanging emails and phone numbers and addresses, and so they already knew each other. And one of the fellows in first class said to the main flight attendant, and I don't know who that would be, but I know someone here that does know. Anyway, said, I really want to use the PA, may I? And that's a no-no, but it was a party, so she said, all right, this time. And he said, we were so well treated by the people in Gander, and in this, they were in a nearby place called Lewiston. I want to set up a foundation for the high school students there. So we're collecting money. During that flight, that hour-and-a-half flight to Atlanta from Gander, they collected $14,500. And it was matched by the physician, the MD, that made the announcement. So that was the beginning of this foundation for these high school kids. That's generosity. It's hospitality. It's coming together as community, which is what love does. That is what love does. It doesn't go in, it goes out. It gives of itself. Now, so who we are as a community is we're very generous with our givingness. And we're committed to being generous. We're committed to being integral in this community. So yesterday, and part of the World Service Day, members of our community did a beach cleanup and then a bonfire. And so those of you who were there, I thank you, I congratulate you. You're difference makers. And we have all sorts of ongoing things. We have a South County outreach where we collect foodstuffs and things for children and toothbrushes and toothpaste and all of those things. And I'm very sure that in mid-October, we'll be going on another walk with a family assistance ministries, being part of that solution. There are many ways that we give back here. We, you, me, all of us. And why I wasn't there is my heart was calling me to be at a celebration of life service of one of our former members, Frank Hotchkiss, who then moved years ago from Laguna Niguel to Long Beach area. So we went to the Episcopal Center. It was a very different celebration than we would have had here. The stories are universal. The stories people tell at these are universal. They're so wonderful. But Anita went with me, and we just wanted to, like, after the story, you want to acknowledge, no, there's no clapping in that Episcopal church. So, okay, there was no clapping, but it was very honoring of Frank, and it was very moving. And I really got him, I heard him say, thank you for being here. It meant a lot to him to have he always considered me his minister, even after he moved. And then he actually finally joined the Episcopal Church in the last couple of years. And then he had a great minister who spoke, I guess he's a priest, a great priest that spoke at his service. It was wonderful. And I was thinking, and the other thing, his second New Thought minister, Peggy Price, who has been both at Hunting Beach and at Seal Beach, and she was his minister at Seal Beach for a while. was there helping his widow plan this service. So we were talking later, and ironically, I said to Peggy, I have to go now. I can't stay for the food because I haven't started preparing my talk. Well, here's why that's ironic. Peggy Price is the woman, is the minister who put together all these notes for today. So I lied to Peggy because I had, of course, read her notes, and I was not completely unprepared for this morning. Okay. I want to acknowledge my two assistant ministers, Reverend Patty Mercado and Reverend Judy Chapman. One of the reasons I was able to not be part of our community and being part of the larger community yesterday was because both of them said to me, we're going to be there. We'll represent you. You don't have to be here for you to be present. And that really meant so much to me. But there was something else. On Thursday, I had something. I felt not myself physically. And I came to work, I drove to work, and then Patty and I discussed what my symptoms were, and she said, let's take you to the emergency room, which I was there now for 8 hours, 9 hours, till 9 o'clock at night. They did every single thing. They did, MRI, CT scan, X-rays, every single possible thing. Nothing. So the prayers were already working. The symptoms were gone by the time I actually saw the doctor. So hallelujah. But what I want to say, that's generosity of spirit, because I kept saying to Patty, I know you had lots of work to do. You need to, she said, I'm not going. I said, you don't need to sit here with me, because for most of those 9 hours, I was just sitting and waiting for the next test. She said, no, I'm not going. And then the same thing when Judy showed up, no, I'm not going. And I'm so grateful that they're so generous. And I know many of you have experienced that generosity. So who are we as a community? And why do I call this talk, Faith Without Works is Dead? Why do I call it Faith Without Works is Dead? Because here's the thing. It's the actions we take out of our faith that proves that we know who we are, that proves we know who God is in us. Ernest Holmes says, faith is something that we all have. We have faith in ourselves. We have faith in our fellow man. We have faith maybe in fear, but we don't want to have faith in God. We want to have faith of God. The faith of God means you have the same faith God has. Seeing the world through the eyes of possibility, then you know only good is possible. Then you know that you're here to give of yourself, and you give it with ease, you give it with love, you minister. You minister. So, faith without works is dead. Faith with works. So when you see the results, you know that that faith is vital, that it's palpable, it's true. And some of the things that we can practice together, the first one, we can practice the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Pretty simple. Every world religion has some version of that. We just studied it in class the other night. Every religion. And the negative is also true. Do not do unto others what you do not want done unto you. And why it's important to have the negative is do not what? What do you not want? You don't want gossip. You don't want pain inflicted on yourself. You don't want to lose your freedom. Whatever things you don't want, well, then don't do it to anyone else. Do not do unto others what you do not want done unto yourself. And then make a choice. do something that would be helpful for other people or one other person. Do something. Extend your hand, extend your smile. Be the change you want to see. The Buddha taught his son, I want to refer to my notes finally, but I'm right on target, said to his son, Rahula, he said, Rahula, practice loving kindness to overcome anger. Loving kindness has the capacity to bring happiness to others without demanding anything in return. But he kept going. Practice compassion to overcome cruelty. Compassion has the capacity to remove the suffering of others without expecting anything in return. Practice sympathetic joy. Wonder what sympathetic joy is. To overcome hatred. Sympathetic joy arises when one rejoices over the happiness of others and wishes others well-being and success. Practice non-attachment to overcome prejudice. Non-attachment is the way of looking at all things openly and equally. This is because that is myself and others are not separate. Do not reject one thing only to chase after another. So Thich Nhat Hanh was quoting the Buddha, and he said, I call these 4 immeasurables. Practice them and you will become a refreshing source of vitality and happiness to others. A refreshing source of vitality and happiness to others. Think about what your definition of love is. What is love to you? I know many of us have experienced being in love or falling in love, but I'm asking you to consider the bigger kind of love, the agape kind of love. And here's the difference. Agape love is without attachment. It's unconditioned and unconditional. It's given whether it's returned or not. It's not given conditionally. And most of our love that we call love is conditional. I'm going to love you if, I'm going to love you if, I'm going to, as long as you do these things, then I'm going to love you. So it's conditional. Or I wonder if he really loves me or she really loves me. If I do all of these things, will he really love me or will she really love me? No, that's not really love. That's actually fear and anxiety. Real love isn't attached to the other. It's giving to the other without expectation. That's giving, giving, giving. And you know there are people that do that, and they know that at times when you're doing it, how great it feels. How great it feels because you're in harmony with your infinite nature, the truth of who you are. So there's a woman by the name of Karen Armstrong. We heard her at the Parliament of World Religions, and she has written something called the Charter of Compassion. I've included in your handout, in your bulletin. You can go to the web. You can go to find her website by just typing in Charter for Compassion, and you'll find it. And you can actually sign an agreement saying that you are a place that is compassionate. You, not just this center, but each one of us is a place of compassion, and that you're choosing compassion. It's a beautiful, very thoroughly explained idea. So I encourage you to read it, and if you're so moved to sign the declaration, the affirmation. Let your hearts just open for a moment. I read something else last night. There were about 3,000 people who were killed on 9/11. And so our hearts open in compassion to their families, their friends, their loved ones. The ones that had babies at that time are now teenagers. But here's another statistic that you may or may not know. There were 17,000 survivors. 17,000 survivors. And those survivors are experiencing survivor's guilt. Many of them have become victims of alcoholism, of rage, of binge drinking and binge drugging in order to try to stop the pain. Let our hearts fill with compassion, not just for those who were lost, but for the survivors and their pain. And I'm talking about firefighters. I'm talking about people who were in the building or people who weren't in the building but worked there and just happened not to be there that day. Police officers, so many of them experiencing this survivor's guilt. And it's a real thing. So we send our love and our compassion and hold them in our hearts as well. We can be the difference makers. Right here, those of us sitting in this room, we can make a difference. Because here's the last thing. The action you can take, and every one of you can do it, and other people might not even know you've done it, is to pray. Pray, pray, pray. That's the action. I've been very busy praying this last week, not just for myself, but for other people. They've asked for prayer, and I'm so happy they've asked because then I can give it so gladly and easily. Prayer makes a difference. You may not see it right at that moment, but you will see the results of scientific prayer and every prayer, no matter how skillfully it's crafted, no matter how much it's in alignment with truth, is making a difference. We're told by Jesus to pray without ceasing. And that simply, to me, means know the truth. Know the truth. You're made in the image and likeness of the I Am. You're here to let your light shine, to be a source of healing for all. Who are we as a community? That's who we are. We're the light reflectors. And so it is. And so Diane's going to set us up for prayer. And of course, I will include those people that I just acknowledge in my prayer and each and every one here.
Blessed are for the arms of God. Let our joy so triumphant that we rest God and
In this holy moment of now, I recognize and realize that there is God and absolutely nothing else. I know that this one is divine presence, and it operates through its own perfect principle. This principle is dependable, reliable, and ever constant, as is the love in which I live and move and have my being. And so I speak this word, first of all, for anyone, for any reason whatsoever here in this room or someone we know who is in mental, physical, or emotional pain. Anyone who is suffering. And what I know is that that presence of God within, all knowing, lifts up, illumines, shines the light of hope and truth in the dark corner of that person's life. Says, I'm not leaving. I'm here. I love you. In this holy moment of now, I recognize that each and every one of us have that inner support, the invisible support that is all that's needed and everywhere present. I know that there is a healing right here, right now, as we release fear, anxiety, resistance, sadness. And what takes its place is joy, is beauty, is holiness, is wholeness, is truth and love. I know that this is true for each and every one of us. I know it's true for me. And I am more receptive than ever before to the presence of God within me, to that voice of assurance, that voice of truth that says, yes, my beloved, yes, my beloved, yes, my beloved. I am here for you, and I am blessed always. I speak this word for each and every one, and I continue in the first person. So if anything doesn't fit, just let it slip over you. I speak this for perfect health and wholeness and soundness of mind and body, for a vigorous health, vitality, and agelessness. I speak this word for an abundance of good of all kinds, for that substance of money that is God in expression and action. And I say, thank you, God, for all of it, and for the increase of the receptivity of it and the wise use of it. I speak this word for love, that love is expanding in my world, and it's impossible not to love and be loved. So in a greater way than ever before, the I am that I am loves and is welcoming of love and forgiving of self and forgiving of others, and it's compassionate to self. And I speak this word for the creative expression for every artist here, for every musician, for every poet, for the genius within each one of us that just wants to express itself. I know that that expression is good and very good, and it blesses everyone in the world. And so with my heart filled with gratitude, because I know the word I have spoken is a word of power, a word of truth. It must manifest because that is what God does. It simply says, yes, my beloved, it is so. So I simply release it, I let it be, and please help me anchor it by saying with me, and so it is. Thank you. And now, Chris Shelton.
Follow every byway, every path you know. Climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream, a dream that will need all the love you can give. Every day of your life, for as long as you live. Climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream that will need all the love you can give. Every day of your life, for as long as you live. Climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream.
Bruce Shelton.
This band.
Thank you, Chris. That was absolutely exquisite. Time for us to share our gifts, our tithes, our offerings. So if the stewards would please come forward. And please repeat after me. Divine love in me blesses and consecrates all that I am, all that I have, all that I give. I give with love, and I love to give. And so it is.
Holy words long preserved for our walk in this world. They resound with God's own heart. Oh, let the ancient word words long preserved for our walk in this world. They resound with God's own heart. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Ancient words ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Let the ancient words impart. Ancient words ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. We are here with open hearts. Let God's love fill our hearts. Let the ancient word Thank you. Thank you.